one that drives me the most crazy is this idea that somehow or another it's discriminatory to require ID to vote.
That's nuts.
That could only mean, I've tried to look at this from the most charitable position outside of it, only makes sense if you're trying to cheat.
That's exactly right.
You need an ID for everything.
Yeah.
Do you need an ID to rent a car?
Well, you know it's basically illegal now in California to ask for voter ID.
Which is crazy.
Which is totally insane. But, you know, my view, and I'm sure you got many, many listeners in the great state of California, the next time you're pulled over by a police officer, just tell them that you're on your way to vote.
I've seen that meme.
I mean, think about this.
Yeah.
If you can't require people to show voter ID, then I think you're inviting fraud into your system. And there's also something implicitly very racist about this, because what they say is voter ID means that black people aren't going to vote. Well, number one, if you look at polls, the same level of support for voter ID exists in the black community as in the white community. It's about 75-80% of blacks, 75-80% of whites support voter ID, but they're basically saying that black people can't get identification. When they say that voter ID is racist, they're implicitly saying black people can't get identification. I think that's an actual racist concept. I actually assume that my fellow, or that black citizens are my fellow Americans, and they can do the same thing that every other citizen can do, which is get identification.
Yeah, it's fundamentally just gaslighting.
That's right.
That's all it is. It's just you're trying hard to make your point because you want people to be able to vote that maybe shouldn't be voting. And then there's all these lawsuits where they're counting votes that they know to be illegitimate. Well, they're saying that there's a certain amount of people that are in the system that they want to keep in there.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So you're saying you want people that shouldn't be allowed to vote.
No. They say that they don't want illegal aliens or illegal voters to vote. The Harris administration right now is litigating a lawsuit against the governor of Virginia because the governor of Virginia, using a state law, kicked about 1,500 people, or maybe it was 6,500, but it was some number of people off the Virginia voter rolls because they checked a box that said they were non-citizen. Well, if you're non-citizen, you can't be on the voter rolls. So he kicked all of the non-citizens off the voter rolls. Harris is suing Glenn Youngkin. The Department of Justice under Kamala Harris is suing him to ensure that those voters go back on the voter rolls.
There's no argument that makes any sense.
There's no argument for this other than you want to facilitate cheating.
But the fact that the left has no problem with this because they just want to win is insane.
But who's going to hold their feet to the fire? Who's going to tell the honest truth? The American media has barely even covered the fact that in the middle of a very consequential presidential election, Kamala Harris's Department of Justice is suing to keep illegal voters on the voter rolls.